Holy moly, what happened the last 2 years? I don't even know. I love you, Zoom, so much, but it's time to see other people. Don't we agree? Oh my God. What a crazy thing. It's weird to see you in person. I'm so glad everyone's wearing pants. I was worried. I'll remind you that you can't mute yourself or turn off your camera, so please be on your best behavior. Handshakes, fist bumps are cool. The foot tap thing, that's weird. It's like river dance. But whatever, you do you. I don't really remember what to do in person anymore. But one thing I'm really happy about is there's a 50% less chance my kids are going to interrupt this talk because they're 2,500 miles away, but they did do it in 2019, so I don't put anything past them. All right. So all kidding aside, I would like to say something before we get into the whole thing. Zoom has been great. You know, they've like held up the world through all the pandemic, but so have many of us in the Cloud Software Association. And let's be honest, no one's going to be banging pots and pans in the street for us. You know, this is, to be frank, a carnival of capitalism for a job well paid for all of us during the pandemic. But so many of us did actually do help. So many enterprises survived the pandemic, hospitals and schools and governments to continue working remotely, or even if you just helped another colleague who was in distress for the last 2 years. I feel, you know, just amongst us, you know, let's give us all a round of applause for what we did as the back office. You know, thank you so much. And Laura from Zoom is actually going to be talking later today about, you know, what they went through the pandemic. So you know, that's one of the most interesting things that happened. So thank you for that. But let's get going. So, you know, I really did actually have a deck in 2020, Vision 2020, because I have a new company, AppBind. Those of you who know or don't know, we're solving problems for channel partners so they can actually sell your software through to their customers. And we launched in January 2020, and I was going to talk about the future. But it's been 2 years, and I've learned something. And I want to tell you a little bit about how I spent the pandemic learning about how to sell AppBind better. But this is a lie. It's a good way to start a talk. I didn't actually stop selling AppBind. We never started. You know, it was not working by April 2020 when we were going to have the conference. We weren't selling, and I was getting really stressed out. But we did figure something out that year by listening to the partners. And when we started growing 15% month over month. You know, and we have, there's a cursor on the screen, guys. Well, just sit here and dance. Well, anyway, we've done really well. We've had hundreds and hundreds of agency partners, resellers, MSPs sign up on AppBind, reselling hundreds and hundreds of your apps, bringing them into markets as part of their solutions for clients. And we've been really successful. And here I want to share to you some of what I had to learn in order to make this happen. But I can't do that until AV. Oh, man. Well, that's it. I'm done. Let's go to the bar. Are you about to go over there and knock on the window? Oh, man. You go, Chris. Anyone know any good jokes? Oh, my gosh. I have actually so much stand-up I could do. This is a nightmare, you like come out, you organize a conference. The last time we did this, it was 302 people at SaaS Connect. And this year it's 420, which is crazy. It's a sign of how much our function in partnerships has grown, actually, over the last 2 years. Because truly, because of the pandemic and other things, we've all had to figure out how to sell indirectly, build distribution, because we've been remote. Anyway, okay, so back to it. So yes, we have had hundreds of resellers, agencies, MSPs on AppBind signed up. They're reselling hundreds of your apps, honestly, bringing you into solutions to the client, finding a way into the channel. But we didn't get here from the beginning, right? It was quite difficult. So, oh, God. Guys, this is going to be very, very difficult. All right. But what did I get wrong? Let's just make sure this works. It doesn't. Oh, my God. All right, I'm going to ask you to just do next slide. So, no, not right now. Go back. Oh, God. I'm trying to sell you some AppBind, and they're ruining my whole pitch. I just go back to Zoom. It's so much easier. Okay. So what was the message I got wrong? So I actually went out in 2019 with this message: buy software and sell it to your customers. It was basically the message I had for the agencies, MSPs, whatever. And I knew this was wrong in some way, because I think this message, some of you might find familiar from our own pitches to our partners, would-be partners. But I knew it wasn't working, but I was kind of trolling them. I was trying to see what their reaction was. And oh my God, it was so negative. They were so angry with this message. I could not even believe how negative the reaction was. And actually, it was here at the Hotel Zeta, the last cocktail party we had during Dreamforce, where this partner, Ty from White Label SEO, I cornered him, hopefully not inappropriately, and I said, listen, I bought you a drink. I need an answer to this. What is wrong with this message? And he said to me, Sunir, finally, just let me have it. I don't want to get stuck in the middle of billing. I was like, oh, right. That reminds me of where I started all this. Next slide. When I was at FreshBooks, many of you know, this is how I got stuck in this mess. By this mess, I mean this mess. The conference, the association, I lost a bar bet, and here I am. And also now with AppBind. In 2007, I started the marketing team at FreshBooks. In 2008, I started the partnership team. Because this was so long ago, all software was sold through partners, because I started in the licensed software channel. It seemed obvious to start partnerships. And the first call I had was with a partner who said, hey, I love FreshBooks. How do I get it for my customers? Right? Next slide. And to me, because in licensed software, when we were selling it, it was really easy. Partners would call us up, and they'd say, I love your software. And we'd say, yeah, what's your shipping address? We FedEx them a box of CDs or DVDs, at 40% list price, saluted them and said, God bless you. Sale done. Ring the bell. It was so easy working with partners. But that did not work at FreshBooks, because you can't put subscriptions in a box, right? It's not possible. They couldn't figure out how to sign up for accounts that they manage, the customer's own. And getting in the middle of the billing, it's a lot of financial risk for them, plus all the bookkeeping of the variable costs. It really bothered them. And I tried solving it there, because we're invoicing for agencies at FreshBooks. I thought we could solve it. I ended up having a third of the engineers under my control at one point. $500,000 we spent today's money trying to build a solution for them. And until I realized that you couldn't really solve it for them from the software company's point of view, and we had to kill that project. But that problem never went away in my mind, and that's what led to AppBind. And I thought I had a solution now, finally, for the partners. So I was like, I got it now. Now you can buy software and sell it to your clients. What's wrong with it? And they didn't like that message, as I told you. And so I have this weird idea that when you get frustrated with people and you don't understand them, instead of looking down on them and going, what's wrong with you? It's really, what's wrong with me? That's really how I think. And so I decided the only way to learn about them is to go join them. So I have admission for you. Next slide. I'm a spy. Or a dummy, or I'm frustrated, or I'm interested in solving this problem. What I've done, really, is gone and done something different. Next slide. I know this is SaaS Connect, but my real baby the last 2 years has been Agency Connect, where I've been hanging out with our partners, running cocktail parties. This is where we started at Inbound, and at virtual cocktail parties, surveys, podcasts, really trying to get to know their story. And today, because this is Channel Day at SaaS Connect, I thought I would tell their stories back to us so we can get ourselves situated and where they are at. So, let's see. Next slide. So if you're going to be a good spy, it's really important to become the person you're spying on, so to speak. And to be fair, my career, I've gone back and forth between consulting and SaaS companies the whole time. And so talking to these agencies, I didn't say I went into them talking about my own story, but talking to them more, it reminded me of a really, really painful story. Next slide. And that was a story when I got fired. I got fired by a client. This is right after I left Olark, and just before I started AppBind, I was consulting. And I was doing analytics consulting. And this was a fashion retailer. He was making a line of clothes. He was building a brick and mortar store. He was doing an e-commerce site, and I was being subcontracted to the analytics, conversion rate optimization, et cetera. So 6 weeks to launch. Every Monday, during their project sync, I said, okay, I need, talk desk, amplitude, branch, segment, VWO. He said, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll get it for you, Sunir. Of course he didn't, because he's making clothes. This is computer science nerd stuff, Bayesian analysis. Like, what if he doesn't care? He's tailoring. He's like building a store. And so he didn't notice anything that was missing, but he did notice like the Bayesian optimization. He doesn't care. But he did notice the phone number was missing 72 hours from launch. So he calls me up and says, Sunir, what's wrong? What's up? What's going on here? And I sheepishly go, well, you didn't sign up for anything, and the sales guy from Amplitude still wants to talk to you. And it's like, so he got me on a video call. And it was very childishly. I made him, do what a lot of agencies do. Click here, put your email address in, your password here. Click here, click here to invite me. It was really painful. And after one of his remaining 72 hours, I got through 2 subscriptions, and he finally let me have it. And next slide. And this was the line that really stuck with me because it's so true, and that all the agencies I talked to now about AppBind, this really resonates. He said to me, Sunir, my plumber is not making me buy my own pipes. I expected you to take care of this for me. Working with you is 10 times harder than not working with you. And I was like, okay. He was mad. So no problem, sir. I got off the phone. I bought the remaining subscriptions on my card, which I immediately canceled because I didn't want the renewals, right? I worked overnight, delivered, and got paid. And then, of course, he didn't retain me. The plan was I would do the conversion rate optimization, the analytics, CRO, then the ads. I would keep going with them. And if I was successful, maybe I wouldn't be here anymore. Maybe I'd be an agency instead of a SaaS company. But so a month later, I caught up with him because we had a good rapport. And I said, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, I had this idea for AppBind. Just tell me what your feedback is. He said, yeah, Sunir, you slowed down the project, confused me. I expect you to take care of it. And I asked him, when did you decide to fire me? Because that was interesting to ask. And he said, well, I'm going to be honest with you, because you want real feedback. I hate this story. Thank you for doing therapy with me. It's great. He said the first call. I'm like, oh. And he's like, no, don't get me wrong, Sunir. I was mad at you at the end. I'm sorry about that. It was stressful. I understand your position. But you wanted real feedback about when I decided that this engagement had to end. And it was the first call where you started asking me to do things I expected you to take care of for me, because he didn't understand any of this stuff. And I was like, right. And I had seen that at FreshBooks, so we benchmarked all our customers, right? And we saw those in the licensed software channel. They had 3-year contracts. They had huge service revenue because they built the systems and deployed them and maintained them. Right? And those in subscriptions, they had shorter lifetime cycles for clients and less service revenue. And I was like, right, this is exactly what was going on. I've heard so many of these stories, and now I finally viscerally felt it. Still feel it, because it sucks. But this is a story a lot of our partners are feeling. Next slide. So I've been telling this story, and it's been resonating with the agencies. I've been collecting stories from them, and I want to share them with you. These are all your partners. Like they truly love you. I mean, they build their businesses on you. But they also see the opportunity. And so there's going to be some positive, some negative, but it's all given with a little bit of love. So hopefully we can build better businesses together. So the first thing that, the most important thing to understand is most of these companies are in the scalability trap. What does that mean? Service companies, agencies, MSPs, they're all in the same problem. They sell labor for a living. And this is the only business where you cannot scale your way out of risk. Because think about it. The more revenue you have, the more labor you must have to fulfill it, and therefore that payroll turns over the month over, which means you need to have more revenue next month to cover your payroll. And so they cannot scale their way out of the problem. And so, next slide. And so when we survey the Agency Connect members, consistently the problems are this. Number one with the bullet is client acquisition. They just want more customers. That's one way to survive the next month, right, is to find another customer. Right? It's another way to keep going. They're on a treadmill, right? And then the more customers you have, the more you have to hire to fulfill, to keep going. Otherwise, you'll lose those clients. So those are, like, by far the 2 most important things. And way down the list is scaling operations, which is really what we want them to do. We want them to bring in more technology, become more efficient businesses, deliver more kinds of solutions. That's way, 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 way down the list, which is why many of us might find it frustrating that they're not interested in what we're doing, because for them, they're panicking, right, every month. And it's not just me. Next slide. I actually just saw this on Reddit a couple weeks ago before this talk. Other people do the same survey. It's the same results. But this is actually the opportunity. Next slide. So one of my favorite companies is Constant Contact. And here's David, one of the agency's Solutions for Growth, one of their top agency partners, the resellers. And for those of you who don't know the Constant Contact story, they famously built, in 22 metropolitan areas in North America, an army of certified authorized agencies, consultants. And they would give them leads, they'd set them up with training decks, give them the money to run seminars, and basically build a lead flow for those agencies. And then in return, those agencies would onboard the customers onto Constant Contact. And he says hundreds, maybe thousands of customers he actually lost track, right? And for him, it was, for Constant Contact, it really was, they created an umbrella of a rain of leads for their agency, which is why they grew so quickly. But not all of this can be Constant Contact. Next slide. All of us can do a little bit. And so here's Sean from Innovaxis saying, yeah, I understand it. We're going to give our leads to our best partners. But you want to give them the first candy bar for free, right? So they get addicted, right? It's not that hard. He was saying, we all know what to do. Create a directory of agency partners, put them on your blog, put them in your newsletter, have webinars with them, invite them on stage at your events, show them there's a ladder of success where they too can build lead flow. And this is by far the most important thing that agencies care about, is seeing a future for client pipeline. So that was the first lesson I learned. All right, next slide. The second part of that message, buy software and sell it to your customers, of course that makes no sense if you think about it. They don't sell software. They're agencies. They sell their own services, right? Not your software, right? And so you have to align to what they're doing. Next slide. And so Ryan, he's an AppBind customer, actually. He actually taught me it wasn't even services they sell. It's solutions, right? If you think about that plumber, I've done this. I had a leaky basement. I needed waterproofing. I live in my problem domain. I want waterproof basement. That plumber who comes in who does that, yeah, maybe do a sump pump and a pipe and a check valve, maybe do weeping tiles, maybe do a membrane on the side. They have different solutions and systems and technologies they can bring to place. If you think what agency means, it means to take action, right? That's what agency means. And customer, they need a custom solution. And that's their role in the market, is to go down to each customer and figure out which of the products that we make and build a system to solve their problem. Next slide. And David, he says, because he worked with Constant Contact, it's so simple. He loves vendors who just ask them straight up, what are your services? It's so easy, right? And I have my own story, but I don't want to tell tales out of school. But I've had this experience. So I'm going to use Demetrius instead from Creative Eye. The thing that I realized in my own practice, and he also articulated, it's so scary, right, when we bring a vendor into a client, because we sell trusted expertise, right? And so if you're not on the same page as the agency, telling them something different than what the agency said, it looks like confusion to the client. It's terrifying. And this happened to me. And so, we only know the answer. Just communicate with your partners. That's all they want before you talk to the clients. Get on the same page, make a battle card, make a plan. It's very, very easy. Okay. But talking about this, and surprisingly, because I talk about plumbers now a lot, I have a lot of YouTube videos, thank you Shaping Algorithm, about plumbing. So when parts come out for plumbers, they tell the plumbers what to do, but really they talk about the services you can offer. So there's inner membrane you can put in a house. They tell a waterproofing plumbing company that they can now do interior waterproofing. They tell the services they could sell. And this is actually a very simple thing you also can take away from the talk. If you want to talk to your channel partners, this problem statement, this XYZ thing, what problem X does your client have that you can sell services Y using my product Z, is really all they want to know, right? And there's a lot of good examples. HubSpot, Colin here, he's built a whole practice, a multi-retainer business. He's got out of the scalability trap with HubSpot because they famously had built up this idea of the inbound marketing agencies and teaching all these companies how to do sales and marketing and now support using their platform. Their blog is amazing. They really taught a lot of companies how to be agencies. But it could be as simple as this. Here's Michael from Prime Marketing Experts, a really simple line. With similar content, we've been able to sell more in-depth and higher quality optimization services so that they can say to their client, we can get you better results sooner, right? Simple. This XYZ thing is like really, really key to communicating with partners because they just need one line, right? That's another little lesson I learned. And if you keep going with this idea of simplifying it as you're part of a system, if you think of a plumber, they go down to Home Depot, they're just going to buy parts off the shelf, a pipe, a valve, or whatever. They don't really have time to talk to you. They just want to get the stuff and bring it into the client. And it's kind of the same thing with software. What's the difference? It's just technology. So here's Richard from Continued. And he had this thing. I think a lot of us have complicated sales processes because we deal with direct customers mostly. And in a direct channel, you have a lot of surface area with clients. And you can have haggle pricing or complicated pricing. It's different, as we know, in indirect, right? Because your channel partners don't have time for this, right? And more importantly, they're promising to the customer to bring your product in as part of something bigger. They need it to be simpler, and they really just need rack rate pricing, it's a different placement, they need different packaging, different pricing, so it's simpler. And it really scares them as well when the quotes keep changing for the client, it makes them look not like experts. So he ended up using JotForm because it was a lot easier to use because they had simple pricing. And Richard here, Richard's amazing, by the way. He's so good. He's also an AppBind customer. He taught me a lot of stuff, actually, about how to do this right. He showed me that service partners are also technology companies, even if they don't write a line of code. So Richard he's so good. So during the pandemic, he went around to these HIV clinics. And if you remember at the beginning, we're all locked down in our houses. The problem with HIV patient and care is that it requires a continuity of care. Otherwise, there could be adverse effects to the patient population. So what he had done, because he has some background in MSPs, being an MSP, is he brought all his marketing automation software to bear to keep the communication lines open, text messaging and whatever, and built a product around that. He started selling to other telehealth, other clinics. And when I went to his website, I was confused. Are you a product company or your agency? And he's an agency. But what he had done is that he had built a system out of RL products, and sold it to his client as if it's his own product. And that really reminded me, again, of a plumber. I met this chocolate factory at Magento Imagine, and that's exactly how they thought contractors were. A plumber at a chocolate factory, they laid all the pipes to run the factory, but they have a 10-year contract, right, to maintain that system, upgrades, maintenance, new lines. They would continue upgrading it. And that's how we used to work as a system integrator. And that's kind of like your best partners are those who could incorporate you into their own product offering, even if they're not writing lines of code, they're building a system around you. And finally, I'm going to just talk about commissions, because I think that's what we mostly ask. I mean, I'm in Slack sometimes. Oh my God. Slack, it's like an endless treadmill of the same question. Do commissions matter? What are the commissions that matter? And tomorrow, Alex Glenn from Partner Programs at Partner Hub is he actually taught me a lot about commissions. He's giving us survey results for the agencies about whether commissions matter or not. He argues probably they don't. I actually think they do. They do, but not in the way that we often think they do, because so many agencies rely on them to get out of the scalability trap. But really, like as Sean says from Innovaxis, the problem is your clients are more revenue for them. It's more important to them, because every client they win is a significant percentage of revenue, and every one they lose, it could be a payroll they lose, right? It's a big deal. They're never going to sacrifice a client over a commission. It's like selling out their clients, and plus they're selling trust, right? So it's not motivating the incentive, but as Wes here from the Sales Whisperer says, it's really important afterwards, right? Because it is the way out of the scalability trap. It's how they build sustainable revenue, it makes their businesses more successful. And I wish I had this on record, but I did an interview with a HubSpot Diamond partner, and they were growing like crazy. And then that was off the record because he didn't want to tell anyone. He's like, no, we don't care about commissions. It's all about the client, because they can't admit it. They can't admit they take commissions to clients because it undermines their position. But after he said 30% of our revenue is commissions. That's the only way they're able to keep growing their agency sustainably. So they do matter, but not at the beginning of the relationship, but at the end to keep them involved. So finally, for us at AppBind, it wasn't just the messaging, of course. You can't just have a messaging change. It's not just about words. We ended up changing the product as well. So we have a little magic trick that we ended up doing that helped us grow. We came up with this idea. We leaned in hard to being a plumber and supporting all these digital plumbers. And what does a plumber offer you? A time and materials invoice. When I started my career as 18 as systems integrator, we did time and materials too. Computers, networking, Windows licenses, SDKs, plus our time. We built an invoice and quote like that. It just wasn't possible with subscriptions. So now we built something at AppBind called the subscription order that allows these companies to bring you through as part of their sales, part of their system solutions, like a good plumber, and actually bill through the ongoing recurring charges, but have the customers own the subscriptions in the beginning. The two problems that were stopping the channel, it took all the risk out. And that's why, suddenly we're making a change with our partners, our mutual partners. So I like to have my Oprah moment. So if everyone looks under their chair, everyone gets a free AppBind in a box. No, I'm kidding. You can't put subscriptions in a box. That's what we talked about. But you come talk to us over here. We have a booth over there, so come talk to us. No, so anyway, I hope to start off the day reflecting our partners who aren't here, the agencies and the channel partners, the service companies, giving a little bit of our voice. And for me, my career objective is to make the internet a more glorious place. That's the only thing I care about. And I care about what we do because it helps other businesses succeed and help the other businesses grow and help the world a better place. So if we can help our agency partners take a little bit more risk off their plates, build better businesses, and be more sustainable, right? We are the back office of the world. We did help the world change over the last 2 years. Let's keep it going by listening more and working more and creating opportunities instead of risks for our partners. Thank you so much.